Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a unit we loved at its worst and are failing to love at its best somehow. The Neurotyrant. This is a unit that we were taking in list to give out Synapse before Synapse did jack shit and subtract 1 from test when this was the only way to subtract 1 from the Battleshock test for Shadow and the Warp, right? So it seems a bit odd that it only got better and provides more benefits, but now we aren't taking it for various reasons. But is it time that we let those reasons go and maybe think about things in a different way? So the Neurotyrant is a monster, T8, straight save of 4, invulnerable save of 4, wounds 9. The ranged weapon is an 18-inch flamer that ignores cover, strength 5, minus 1 AP, damage 2. We were bringing this in list to give out Synapse to our thing so they can get that extra d6 for the Battleshock test whenever that needed to happen to them. And, admittedly, some of our detachments do need you to have something within Synapse range. So, you go, alright, well, I have a Neurotyrant to make sure that that happens. And as I was saying, this was to make the test for Shadow and the Warp feel like it did something. So it's a bit odd that now, with the Neurotyrant, we have the option for any of our list to make our opponent take Shadow and the Warp at -2 because if they're next to a Synapse creature within like 6 inches, right? And the other part that didn't change is that, well, if it's leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. If the target is battle shocked, add 1 to the wound roll as well. However, again, the Neurotyrant got better, and balanced data slate before last. Are we calling this one a balanced data slate that happened with the points because some things did change? I don't know. Anywho, we got to attach Zoanthropes, which kind of solves their problem of both parties. Like it's like, why would I want to put my Neurotyrant with Neurogons when that would just make it so that I'm taking more wound rolls and blow up? Why would I want to take my Neurotyrant with the Tyrant Guard? Because Tyrant Guard aren't good anyway. They're not doing damage. But we'll get to that. If you know about the tabs that I have open, you already know. And then again, the Zoanthropes. We're like, well, now they can hit on 2s instead of 3s. Everybody has a 4-up invuln in this situation, so it's not like I really have to worry about those tests that I didn't want to take anyway from a lower the wound rolls that I didn't really want to take anyway because of the toughness difference. But you know, 4's a 4. You live and die by it, and you even get extra benefits. So why is it that the Neurotyrant has come out of our list when it should have been even further a staple? Well, let's talk about some things. Going into, once more, the Zoanthropes. Zoes, now attached to a Neurotyrant, hits on 2s, and can have +1 to wound versus targets that got battle shocked. And if they got battle shocked within 6 inches of the unit, your opponent might take some more mortal wounds. Well, actually, will take some more mortal wounds. That's guaranteed. As well as giving a 6-up invulnerable save to things that are around the Zoanthropes. Now, again, there was a point in time at which we were taking the Zoanthropes. Their price did go up kind of astronomically up to 110 for 3, which did hurt it, but that was still our best thing to punch a tank because the damage from Casino Cannon was horrible. So, with Tyrannophase getting buffed, we no longer needed to bring the Zoanthropes because now we have 190 versus 200 with more reliable damage. However, the Zoanthropes have a better damaging profile for half the range of the rupture cannon. And why do I say damage profile? Because they have two options on attacking. Yeah, there's Stinger Salvos on the Tyrant effects, but nobody's using that for actually trying to do anything. Zoanthropes at least have Witchfire. That is a blast. Strength 7, AP minus 2, damage D3, attacks D3, profile to clear out whatever little things. And this goes into why I'm also confused why we're more willing to bring old One Eye and the Carnifexes than Neurotyrant Zoanthropes. First off, you go, well, it's obviously because they're a little bit chunkier, right? Like, it's harder to get rid of them, and once old One Eye gets to blood surge up the board thanks to them, you just punch people in the mouth, which is partially true. You do find that a lot of things in the game actually are able to handle toughness 9 of the Carnifexes. And we don't even bring this unit outside of Invasion Fleet because re-rolling the ones on a weapon that hits on 4s for 7-2-1 isn't that great. However, the Neurotyrant, being a character that is not an epic hero, can take enhancements and detachments. So once again, why are we using the Neurotyrant? And if I'm being honest, I don't have the best of answers for why you should take the Neurotyrant Zoanthropes, the think tank, over some other things in lists that we are taking lately. But it is for consideration when you realize how many doors get opened to the Neurotyrant thanks to attaching and things like that. For example, with the Zoanthropes being attached and we wanting to play on the whole Battle Shock thing, we know that is good in Vanguard Onslaught. We've taken the Zoanthropes before they could be attached to the Neurotyrant, and we've taken the Neurotyrant before they could be attached to the Zoanthropes, again, both in Vanguard Onslaught. But yet, both have fallen out of our list. Don't really know why. I've already talked a lot about Vanguard Onslaught lately, so I'm going to make this quick. But in the detachment, in which there are the most ways to make a Battle Shock test happen, probably tied with Savage Roar being in. No, Hunting Grounds. So yeah, Vanguard Onslaught definitely does have the most ways to make Battle Shock happen for us Tyranid players. Between Hunting Grounds and Surprise Assault. That's +1 to wound for this weapon profile, and we've took them before because they were infantry and you can pick them up and put them down in Vanguard Onslaught thanks to Invisible Hunter. And that gave us the way to readjust, fire away on whatever priority target. The other thing about this is that, yeah, for 305 points, that is kind of steep. But nothing stops you from running more than one of these bricks with different enhancements on them to do whatever you might want to do. And I'm not just saying that for Vanguard Onslaught, I'm saying that for quite some other detachments too. Quite a few other detachments that we'll get to in a second. So, Zoanthropes, good. Now, good-ish. Neurotyrant wasn't that great, but it was kind of all we had, and we made it work. So now that it's good, we should be bringing it again with the Zoanthropes. Alright, fine. Don't want to bring it in Vanguard Onslaught. This is the one that I like bringing the think tank in. Assimilation Swarm. Why is that? Point blank period. It is infantry that you can bring back up to full wounds per model, basically. Like outside of Neurotyrant, you can bring back one Joey for the unit each turn as long as you control something. Also, you get everything you want in Assimilation Swarm thanks to what you're taking in Assimilation Swarm. In Assimilation Swarm, you probably are taking a Hive Tyrant because you're taking the Tyrant Guard because you want to respawn the Tyrant Guard. So there goes your lethals and assault to solve your movement problem. You're taking a Psychophage because a Psychophage is a harvester for Assimilation Swarm, which gives you 6 up Feel No Pain on your 4 up Invulnerable save models that have 3 wounds each a model, and you're taking Pyrovores, which are harvesters, which remove cover for the targets of what you want the Neurotyrant for. So it's kind of hard for me to say, yeah, leave the Neurotyrant Zoanthrope brick at home for Assimilation Swarm. However, I can understand why you would say that. Now, the next problem about this idea is because you go, well, like you said, I'm just bringing the Tyrant Guard attached to the Hive Tyrant and the Swarm Lord, which is a very expensive package, um, because you want the bulk there. But let's talk about Assimilation Swarm a little bit more for the next part, as to why, again, I prefer the Think Tank. With Brewguard Impulse, if one of your harvesters dies, you get to any attack by your Tyranids that goes into the thing that did it, that killed your harvester baby, add 1 to the wound roll, right? So that means that there's now 2 ways for your Zoanthrope brick to be +1 to wound while already being +1 to hit versus targets while regenerating. And you go, but they just die so fast. I don't like the Zoes because they get punched easy. But again, we brought them when we knew they were getting punched easily. When we weren't bringing the Psychophage, because we've traditionally never brought the Psychophage, and that was still the biggest problem. Now it gets solved by models being able to come back and regeneration. And this is the other thing about why I would say you can now cover a weakness. So keep this in mind. This is covering your ass. This is not at all something you should aim for. If you start charging your think tanks into people because Mr. Monster told you so, you didn't fucking listen. Alright. The other thing that happens with the think tank is they get tied up in melee and it's fucking GG. Thankfully, now that the Zoanthropes can attach to the Neurotyrant, you can use Big Guns Never Tire. But also, and again, this is a if all goes the fuck wrong, okay? You can now make your melee weapons of the shit that can't punch worth a damn in melee lethal hits. Which is better than nothing, right? Like, yeah, I don't want to hit 2 times on 4s for strength 3, or for strength 4 because of the Synapse buff. But even thinking about that, strength 4 versus Eldar, you're at least wounding them on 4s now, and hitting on 4s. So it gives you a little bit of a chance, and even better of a chance if it's lethal hits, in case it's something like fucking orcs punching you. You get to fight back, you don't got to sit there and just be like, well damn, there was no way. But, where there's a will, there's a way. And again, before anybody does the thing where you just fast forward and then get to being mad at me, this is not plan A, this is plan F, which is better than not having a backup plan at all, okay? So there's that. All that to say, I like the Think Tank and Assimilation Swarm sometimes more than the Tyrant effects. Because while the Tyrant effects is sturdy, can blank 1 damage so I can regen some heals or whatever, and it's harder to get rid of that thing. At the same time, I now have a little bit of an OC advantage with 3 plus another 6, so we're at 9, whereas the Tyrant effects, let's do this, right? OC of 5, so that's some amount of hope on there. and I just get to be on to the objectives and do my thing, which is what you want to do in Assimilation Swarm, of be on objectives and do your thing. Now, also, don't get me wrong, I know that we all aren't fans of Assimilation Swarm. That's fine. Uh, yeah, that's fine. I can't really convince one way or the other. I have my own personal gripes with it, and I would like it buffed, but it is what it is and what we have right now. Also have the fact that the think tank provides what is missing from Assimilation Swarm 2. Some cover. And I guess not cover because there's literally benefit of cover. But some protections that were only provided by the Psychophage. Now you can make sure that there's a 6-up invulnerable for whatever goes wrong if you're taking the think tank. Maybe once. Maybe twice. Now again, that's steep. That's 610 points for that. But the Overwatch is nasty, okay? Like, the Overwatch is fucking disgusting between the Flamer and all those shots from the Zoes. And that's where you have to think about stratagems that aren't in the detachment. If you get into a position and something does want to charge you, yeah, maybe you don't think about the 1 CP backup plan of secure biomass. First you Overwatch. And then if Overwatch goes to shit, now secure biomass on top of that. But let's also talk about the enhancements. Biophagic Flow, look, we already know about extending ranges with the Neurotyrant. So Biophagic Flow, you can do the whole feed the swarm thing of the detachment a little bit better, because if you are within a foot, if a harvester model is within a foot of the bearer of this unit, you can extend that harvester's feed the swarm regen from 6 to 9 inches. It's very handy. Then we have some other goofy shit. We have instinctive defense and parasitic biomorphology. Instinctive defense gives you free heroic intervention if you're within 6 inches of a harvester unit for the unit, the bearer's unit, right? In addition, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, models in the bearer's unit have fight first. Yeah, fight first is pretty good. I don't know if you've heard, but it's pretty good. And then on the other thing, the more expensive side, parasitic biomorphology, which I have a love-hate relationship with this one. Because you go, alright, let me put it on my melee warriors and just tear ass. At the same time, you didn't have to make sure that your melee warriors have a little bit of help. But if you brought the think tank, now you ain't got to worry about it. However, parasitic biomorphology. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit the first time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit in the fight phase, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units until the end of the battle. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. Good job, GW. TODR, add 1 to melee weapons in the bearer's unit. Add 1 strength to the melee. And then if they destroy something in a fight phase while next to a harvester, plus 1 to the attacks. Perfect. Now, again, that's not plan A for your Zoanthropes. This is not a plan at all for your Zoanthropes. You're not, don't fucking put 25 points for that on your Zoes. But maybe you want to be funny and do something with the Neurguns. Again, this is just something that I found hilarious when I was doing things. Because they can attach to the Neurotyrant who can take it, you can now have 22 attacks, right? Hitting on 3s, strength 4, damage 1, right? But you can make that 22 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, hitting, damaging for 1, no AP. You can also do 22 attacks, strength, hitting on 3s, strength 5, damage 1 with lethal hits. Or you can add 1, making it 44 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, lethal hits, damaging 1. Again, this is plan fucking F. But it is funny, you can do that for 200 points, you know, 105, 90, so 195, but 200 points, right? And then actually, I take that back. So to put that on, so we're looking at what, 130? Or I'm sorry, I just definitely did math wrong. No, did 120, right? Um, yeah, hilarious because it's something that you won't want to do, but for the way that people tell me about the fucking 215 points, melee warriors with the Tyranid Prime, and then once you get them up there, you can do it. Yeah, that's fine. But here's another funny thing. Because this becomes an endless multitude unit when attached to the Neurotyrant, you can heal back 3 models. So, hey, it's still funny, and which you're like, well, I don't want them to just chew through my Neurogons and start punching my damn Neurotyrant before I can do anything, like with the Shadow and the Warp. That's some ablative wounds that are probably going to pop back up faster than people realize because they're like they focus on Tyrant Guard. They know they need to get rid of Tyrant Guard. They'll look at you, call you fucking stupid, and then be like, all right, I guess I have to get rid of 22 fucking Neurogods. Which isn't hard, but it's funny. So again, I don't recommend you do it, but damn, it's funny if you do. But also the other thing that I was like, wow, the Neurotyrant actually is a lot more fucking flexible than I've given it credit for. Because I've talked about how you wanted to bring the Neurotyrant in Unending Swarm in the past, so you could give the Neuroloids out, put it on the Hormagon so they can fuck shit up in the Unending Swarm. I completely forgot you could attach this to the Neurogons, making it once again an endless multitude unit. So how bad you want to surge up the board with a 5-1-2 flamer that ignores cover is up to you. But again, you can add 2 to the move characteristic of those models with Relentless Hunger. You can make it so that they have the benefit of cover and some other things. Hell, even critical wounds improve the AP characteristic of the attack by 1. And pilot and consolidate if you want to as well. But again, you don't want to do these things. It's just funny that you can. So I won't spend too much time on it further, but I don't know. I think it'd be pretty funny if you sustained hits 1, crits on 5, your endless multitude unit of 22 Neurogods that have a fucking decent flavor attached to them. It's just a thing, right? But of course, the second best option, and maybe sometimes first best option for attaching to the Neurotyrant, a Tyrant Guard. While the character model is leading this unit, that character has a feel no pain of 5 up. Perfect. And for the melee weapons, you can forget they exist, but they punch better than some Neurogons poking people with tiny claws. Right? This will go from hitting on 3s, hitting on 2s, hitting on 4s, hitting on 3s. We know how math works, 3s to 2s. Strength goes up by 1 because they're attached to the Synapse character, so they'll probably be within the Synapse range until you severely fuck up and leave unit coherency. So you put that up to a 6, up to a 9, up to a 6. AP stays the same, damage stays the same. Now, again, because they're infantry, that opens you back up to moving things around with Vanguard Onslaught, but also another one. And oh, I should, before I go further, talk about why we're talking about the Tyrant Guard. I saw this video come up on my feed. Admittedly, it took me a couple of days to get around to watching it, but I believe Bugwatch even talked about seeing this too. So I finally watched it. Um, it's a really good video, and let me tell you, it is not in the detachment that you think it would be in, and it makes perfect sense. At the same time as making me realize that the Neurotyrant with Tyrant Guard can go anywhere. Thanks to the Tyrant Guard being able to go anywhere. So let's get back to Tyrant Guard being anywhere. Assimilation Swarm is the one that you're probably thinking, oh man, if I'm taking Tyrant Guard attached to a character, it's going to Assimilation Swarm. Which, like I said earlier, is pretty damn true. right? I already talked about if you take the think tank, you're probably taking a brick of a hive tyrant and or swarm lord with the tyrant guard, and that fills out a good portion of your list. But both things benefit from all the things you wanted to. So there's that. And there is also the discussion of bringing a hive tyrant and a swarm lord to bring two bricks of the fucking tyrant guard to absorb hits and possibly get lethal hits and things like that. So there's option one, where probably your most frequent option. But the Tyrant Guard also lets you again move in Vanguard onslaught. Whoop, whoop. But I'm going to kind of spoil Spacebug Studios a little bit. It's in Synaptic Nexus. In which that's fucking genius because I've bitched enough about Synaptic Nexus being a melee fucking detachment compared to everybody wanting to make it a shooting detachment. With it being a melee detachment, for one round, your bricks of Tyrant Guard get +1 to hit. They're better at charging. One round, those already sturdy motherfuckers get a 5-up invulnerable save. And, again, I bitched about this part too. If people want to take Synapse units, why are we doing it with the ones with the have invulnerable save for reinforced hive node? Anything that's punching those things is going to make sure that you're punching on the invulnerable save. Reinforced hive node, you're taking a Tyrant Guard that has a 3-up save, and assuming it's not the turn that gives you a 5-up, right? They're already sturdy at T8 and 4 wounds. Now you're making it so that that AP is harder to get through. So, brilliantly done by Spacebug Studios. Took down Barfight GT with it. Listen to the video to talk about the other things that go on in the list that, again, brilliantly done. And also, going to the Assimilation Swarm aspect of Tyrant Guard and Hive Tyrant, I've talked about how Maelstrom Gaming has talked about it several times. A lot of people have been like, nah, there's no way I'm taking these things. And yet, we've seen Maelstrom Gaming have decent success bringing these bricks. So, Tyrant Guard opens up options, whether you're taking them. Sorry, I lost them. On, well, Hive Tyrant, Neurotyrant. But again, the Neurotyrant that we loved so much previously, it seems like we should just be doing this again. However, thinking about it, I was like, wait, this goes even further. Because an invasion fleet, again, we're taking old One Eye and the Carnifexes that hit on 4s, but it's just because they reroll that we're taking them in invasion fleet. What if, what if, your Neurotyrant was either attached to Tyrant Guard that you go, alright, yeah, +1 to hit, sustained hit on those attacks, lethal hit on those attacks, precision, fuck it. Maybe you're going against GSC and you're like, alright, I want to precision up the characters instead of just killing everything. Maybe that's what you do, right? I mean, elite enhancements aren't that. But the thing that's pissed me off about Invasion Fleet also, and I guess this is a spoiler for when I get to the Invasion Fleet video, but it's also a fight phase based detachment. Fight phase, fight phase, fight phase. We're bringing triple Exocrine, triple Maliceptor, double Death Spitter, Carnifexes when it's a fight phase detachment. However, the Tyrant Guard at least could benefit from this situation, in which, what if the block that's hard to get rid of also had a 5-up Feel No Pain being attached to a Synapse unit, and crit on 5s, and fought on death? What if? Now that's a lot of investment for these motherfuckers, but at the same time, let's think about how annoying that shit is. If we can see that in Synaptic Nexus, -1 AP just makes them that much more of a motherfucker, and Assimilation Swarm, them being able to regenerate, makes them that much of a motherfucker. What about in the detachment that we're all very familiar with. Uh, there's a 5-up feel no pain on those motherfuckers. They're critting on 5s. If you really want to, you don't need to do that option. But again, sustained or lethals or precision, hitting on 5s is better than not fucking doing it at all. But also, you don't need to spend that 2 CP. You could just hope some 6s happen, and you still are better off than what you were in other places. And if you want to spend the other CP because you're like, alright, you have put a lot of things into me for a 5-up feel no pain, while I have a 5-up feel no pain on the unit, what about I make it so that they fight on death too, so good luck, motherfucker. And again, going to the Neurotyrant, and again, this isn't a good idea, but if it's an endless multitude unit because it's attached to the Neurogods, you can return some of the Neurogods. You can, in fact, return these 3+3 Neurogods. Again, don't do it, but fuck it, it's funny. And even then, right? 22 attacks, hitting on 3s. Or, sorry, hitting on 4s. Let's go back. Hitting on 3s. 22 attacks, hitting on 3s. Just because this shit's funny. 5-up field no pain for 22 fucking models. Fight on death, because why not? Lethal and or sustained hits. Or I should say lethal or sustained hits. Or precision, fuck it, right? That's really fucking funny, and nobody's expecting it coming. So, Neurotyrant, we fit these things and these other things that the Neurotyrant all can be a part of. The only detachment that you don't want to bring the Neurotyrant Zoes or Neurotyrant Neurogons, well, you're never bringing that. Like, think about all the detachments we have and that we've gone over. What is one that just a Neurotyrant purely can't fit in one? Well, now that I'll go over the last one that I accidentally spoiled, none of them. This was the first one that I thought we were just fucking cooking, right? I was like, oh my gosh. You mean to tell me that with Crusher Stampede, I can put everybody through a wall? Now, I will say, looking back, there was a comment that was like, well, the Zoanthrope should already go through a wall. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, it's funnier now. You could think that they're Kool-Aid Man attached. But like, now that I can make sure that my Neurotyrant also goes through the wall, and then have ignores cover on it, fuck yeah, and trigger a battle shock test if they get too motherfucking close. And if they fail the battle shock test, I'm +1 to wound on my shitty melee weapons as well as doing mortal wounds for the think tank. Yeah. This was my chariot, my champion of the think tank. I was wrong. I'll eat it. I was wrong. Because I definitely thought that Swarm Guided Salvage would have more weight. But I've also talked about a lot of lists that I have problems with for the Crusher Stampede list, so maybe I'm not totally wrong yet. I still have to get to thinking on it some more. But Crusher Stampede can even go here. Now, you don't necessarily want to bring the Tyrant Guard for this, and you damn sure don't want to bring the Neurogons for this because nothing would get the benefits. You're already attacking with a Flamer. Alright. +1 to wound. Okay, whatever. Maybe you do want to be fucking hilarious and add 2 to the objective control characteristic of models in the unit at starting strength for your Neurogot brick with the Neurotyrant and +15 points. If you were really worried about holding your backfield until somebody kills literally one fucking Neurogot, that's a lot of OC out of the models in the unit, right? So we're adding, so that's 3, because each Neurogon is 1, right? So that's 3 times 22, so 66, plus 3, 69, plus another 2, so we're at 71. And if we just want to be absolutely absurd, another 3, so 74 OC on a point with Crescent Stampede. You don't want to do it, but fuck is it funny. So, what's the point of this video, right? What is the point of this video? First off, it's that we've kind of thrown the Neurotyrant out for who knows what, really. Uh, we were bringing them in place of, I guess you could say accurately, the Tyrant effects. But then we've woken up and seen that we don't need the Maliceptor. As much as I like the Maliceptor, like, it has helped us throughout the entire edition. But as you look at list, we've come to realize that we can just make that bulk be the Tyrant effects with rupture cannons. Or maybe bringing more Neurotyrants would make us want to bring the acid effects a little bit more. You go, how does that logic work, monster? Well, maybe if you just take one that pushes up, so that's your bulk that you were missing from the Maliceptor, the difference of 20 points. Maybe we bring back the Neurotyrant for making us more efficient, right? The Neurotyrant, I know any Tyranids player can tell you that you do not want to bank on Shadow and the Warp. You don't want to. We were bringing the Neurotyrant so it didn't feel that fucking bad to go into Marines and they just roll and pass on a fucking 6 without them, right? So now, the Neurotyrant takes it to a 7 at least. Well, it always has, I should say. But if they are around some additional synapses, that's on an 8. Makes it a little bit more better. A little bit better, excuse me. And then again, the Zoanthropes, whether you're actually doing the damage from a fucking Overwatch, that's disgusting. Okay? It's pretty nasty. You also have the fact of, well, it's a buffing piece still. If somebody dedicates shots to this and I'm just hitting my fucking 4s, awesome. If not, I'm not hitting my 4s. They are still 3 wounds, right? They are still 3 wounds each, but again, isn't the hardest thing to get through as having T5, but the same way people try to convince me to bring warriors everywhere, I I think that if we're talking about T5, if I have to save on the 4, I at least want the 4 that's an invulnerable save and has 3 wounds, right? So, you know, let's think a little bit more about the Neurotyrant, Zoanthrope, the think tank. And I guess I should touch on, again, for anybody that hasn't heard my feelings on why I don't like it in Synaptic Nexus. Let's finish that up there, right? The reason I don't like it in Synaptic Nexus is because this is a melee detachment. It sucks that one of the enhancements is 10 points for literally only the Neurotyrant because none of the other ones have a psychic weapon. But I have a theory that the Norns were supposed to be characters. That's my theory. So I think maybe they've made an oopsie, as we've seen with fucking Vanguard Invader not being on the Snakes, the Triarch not being on the Triarch, Fly being on the Void Raven Bomber. I'm starting to think, like when I looked at everything, I was like, whoa, maybe the Norns were supposed to be characters, because you take it into somebody that doesn't play Tyranids, and they go, yeah, that thing's a character, right? And you go, nope, and they go, what? How is that not a character? I don't fucking know, right? So, if the Norns were characters, and I know this is sidetrack, but if the Norns were characters, then at least there'd be the Norn emissary who could take this for 10 points. And it'd make more sense that they didn't just dedicate one enhancement to one unit out the entire codex. But maybe that'll be a separate video. However, going on from that, yeah, Psychostatic Disruption is nice, so you can screen out your backfield on the thing that was sitting on your home field. Dirge Tradocaris is nice to get more things battle shocked, so you can be +1 to wound against them. However, what in this detachment is something that actively helps the game plan, right? Besides them being a buffing piece, they don't make somebody take battle shock test. It's just if it happens, it's better for them. If you're in the right place at the right time when the battle shock test happens, you get Smothering Shadow next to the think tank while they have their own Smothering Shadow effect. and you're +1 to wound against them, fine, perfect. Does that mean that I'm putting the Dirge Heart of Karis onto the Think Tank so that my thing that I don't want in melee range is within melee range? No. Well, the Think Tank +1 to hit already, so fuck that part. I don't want them to advance and charge. They have a better invulnerable save. They all are taking the 4 no matter what. So reinforced hive nodes out the window. Don't care about synaptic channeling because I'm putting my neuraloids out, so why do I care about boosting my own range to 9 inches when I can do it for 2 units at 18? Again, none of the imperatives work for me. Yeah, I can fall back, shoot, and charge with 1 CP, but if I've let that happen, I've kind of already fucked up, right? Like, I should have the appropriate screening and placement so that I'm not in a position in which, again, assuming I did not overwatch with this fucking amazing overwatch, that I am now fall back, shooting, and charging the think tank. Now, again, everybody would point to as irresistible will, in which you go, well, yeah, at least you get reroll rune rolls of 1 on addition to the reroll hit rolls of 1. You're bringing the exocrine anyway when you bring the think tank, more often than not. 24 inches, yeah, they have the perfect 24-inch thing for it, so yeah, you can at least reroll your wounds now. But how badly do I need to do that where I haven't had that issue in any other detachment before, like Invasion Fleet, where I was bringing it before with sustain and reroll ones on there, right? So I don't know. I think it is very misleading that the think tank is on the fucking uh, art for it. Let's do this right here. Synaptic nexus, just to show you what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it before. Please, Google, don't be weird. There we go. Hey, wait, that's my video. Fuck, that's that's freaky. And no, it's totally unscripted. But that is, there we go. That's Maelstrom Gaming's video. So there's, and as you can see, help needed. Damn, that detachment gives me gives me problems, but also it's a love hate relationship, I guess. Yeah. So as you can see, the think tank's on there, but quite frankly, it just isn't the best in there. So again, GW is setting us the fuck up. Wow, that's weird. I didn't know I was on Google on that. So yeah, I promise that was not scripted. If you're going to be sitting there like, man, this guy's a conceited asshole, I promise that was not. Oh man. Yeah, I guess I'm leaving that in. So that's everything. I think we need to rethink the think tank. Maybe bring it back. Drop some shit in our list. I'm always you can drop the lictors because point scoring. I get it. Yeah, we like point scoring, but you'll be surprised how easy it is when you don't kind of throw some offensive capabilities just to do it, right? Like at the end of the day, monsters can still most monsters, right, can still get points. So yeah, that's it. Let me wrap this up. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.